get this cracking.
It's me. Can you picture this? Baby, David, good looking, baby. CYPT got another. I see y'all. Yeah. Can you picture this? You know, rocking with CYPT. Podcast of the D with Clay and the crew. It's like my CTV. They be giving game out so much, you could take the same route. Especially if you take risks, this YouTube view makes sense.
What up, though? You're listening to the CYPT podcast. It's the podcast of the strongest, fastest, most powerful print shop on this side of the Eastern Seaboard. Oh. I'm just Niles.
It's your boy Boogie behind the camera.
And I'm Clay. And today we got my main man in the building, Mr. Brian Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
Tell
So
him
good
what
to have you with us, man.
Well, I want to start off by greeting everybody in love, peace, truth, justice, and freedom, and peace and abundance to everybody watching this channel today.
Absolutely.
And I wish you all abundance and love. And we're going to start with that.
Bring that mic up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I got to talk a little louder. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, tell them the name of your company.
All right. Well, my company is Complete Tax Service Solutions. I've been in business about 27 years. My name is Brian Freeman. I'm a CPA. I have a master's degree in taxation, an MST from Walsh, for those people who know about Michigan and the holding that Walsh stands in the economic community. I went into accounting about 27 years ago to be a beacon for my people.
Mm-hmm. And I've been knowing you about half those years. You came in, you saved my life.
You're about 20 deep.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
Yeah.
about 20
I know
deep,
it was
bro.
a long
You're
time.
about 20 deep.
Yeah.
You passed
Okay.
half.
Past half? Okay. I was thinking it was about 15 to 16, but it's a little longer, huh?
It was a little longer than
Yeah.
that, bro. A
Okay.
little longer than that.
I remember when I first met you, I was like, man,
How did y'all meet?
this guy. We actually met through Rob. Introduced me to
Rob?
Rob. Yeah.
Word?
Mhm.
Yeah, word.
I was getting all these tax papers, and I was starting to get nervous. I was starting to make a little bit of chips, and I was like, hey, I
long-
need somebody to help me out with this.
How long was CYPT in business?
Well, we've been in business since 2003.
No, since you had met Brian. How long were you in business before you met Brian?
Ooh, we met. Well, what year was that?
It wasn't even CYPT yet.
Word?
Yeah, that came along after, right? You know, because he got that from PYT, Pretty Young Thing, right?
Nice.
So he got that from the Michael Jackson thing later. So that was at least 5. At first, it was just, can you picture this? The whole CYPT
Well,
thing.
it's still, can you picture this? We just kind of made it shorter for purposes of email.
Can you picture this? The mouthful.
Yeah, he got suave with it after a few years.
Yeah,
You know?
and actually they came up with that, man. We shorten it up a little bit because when you type in the URL CANYOUP,
right.
and shorten that stuff up. So we CYPT now.
Yeah. So
Such a process.
it's at least 15, 20 years.
Yeah, but you came in and helped me. I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was a mess, and you got me together.
Yeah, that's my premise. My whole premise when I even started doing my own tax practice was about us. Because what I noticed was when I went into the game, all of the large entities were in Troy. That's where all they went. But for us, all we had was the Pookies and Mookies in the basement. We didn't really have any educated people who really knew taxes. We had people who knew how to hustle tax work, but we didn't have any, any saviors, if you will, to protect us against a system that is after you.
Let me get an example. And what I mean by that is, we're a company that does printing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Graphic design, things like that. And we're an entity here. Okay. And then, of course, there are those in their basement who are just getting started. They got a T-shirt in the press, things like that, and they can get a couple orders out. Right. But there are differences. If there's a situation and they can't be contacted, we always can be contacted. We can fix the situation if something happens. We're a lot quicker. What are some of the key differences between someone just starting out doing it in the basement and then, of course, someone who's in a position like yourself, the amount of knowledge and the amount of everything, what would be like some differences that you would say are between those just starting and where you are now?
Academics and credentials.
Academics and credentials.
Yes.
Okay.
We got to wake up to one truth. We're not playing our game.
Playing that game.
We didn't make the tax system.
Mm-hmm.
Before they came along and imposed this economic system onto us as a people, we had our own functionality, which was a barter system. Now we're going back in the history of this whole concept.
Okay.
And just to make a point real briefly, even when you look at the Constitution, in the pursuit of happiness, it never says you're going to be happy.
But you could try.
It says pursue it. You can try all the fuck you want to. I hope that's okay for me to say.
No,
Not at all.
Not at all.
You can try all the hell you want to. Okay.
That's good.
But the pursuit of something and the obtaining of something is two distinctly different objectives. So even in the constitution of this place we call a country, there's the pursuit of happiness. So the tax game is really built upon that concept of pursuit. You chase it, but that don't mean you ever catch it, to answer your question. So when you have someone with credentials and academic support, they have the tools to go fight a system. When you pay people who have no credentials and no academic knowledge or knowing, they can't fight. That's like sending a cat to a gunfight with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
So, like in our community, you sort of like me, where we serve in the underserved. So there's nobody out here that's doing what you do for the people. What are some of the common mistakes, if you will, that you see small businesses make? It's just starting out.
I was waiting for that question. So we're going to start off with, let me adjust my chair. We're going to start off with this LLC. Where's the camera? Because I got to look in the camera. Lying, lynching, and conspiracy.
Perfect.
Lying, lynching.
Let me get my shirt. Let me get my
Let
shirt.
me sit up a little
Yeah.
bit. You
Okay,
got to
so-
explain that part to me.
All right. So every time you turn on TikTok, every time you turn on YouTube, you got some cat on there telling you, hey, go be an LLC and get your free EIN number. And in 2 weeks, you're going to have $50,000 as a credit line.
What?
Yeah. Oh, every time you look at TikTok, you see that. You don't see that? I see that.
Well, no. Everyone does say become an LLC.
That is the biggest lie there is.
The biggest.
Oh, really?
I can't think of a, well, let me say not the biggest. There's some bigger ones.
There's some bigger ones.
But that ain't the topic of tonight. So within the tax scope of big lies, that's one of the biggest.
You got to break that down.
All right, so let's break it down. Limited liability is what the first person always runs to me and say, well, B, I want to have limited liability. Well, truth be told, every corporate structure provides you limited liability. What an LLC does not do is provide you limited liability of taxes.
Explain.
Well,
Board time.
board time.
Gotcha, man.
All right. So the best way to explain is from illustration.
Look, go ahead and put this here.
All right. Make sure we make my boy Miles
Can we
so
see?
we can see him. All right.
We're good? All right.
All right. So what we're going to use is a simple fundamental concept. LLC. Oh, let me stand up a little bit so I can write this so it's legibly nice. All right. An LLC equals something called a pass-through. All right. So what that means is whatever money an LLC makes, it passes through to the individual. The individual then pays taxes on that money as a person. Well, this is where the problem is. The problem is the taxes are twofold. So a lot of people will sometimes say, well, Brian, C Corps have double taxation. Well, Well, so does an LLC. So you pay 15% Social Security and Medicare, plus whatever your federal rate is. So if you're a half decent income earner, the minimum rate is 10%. So now let's just use some math. If I got a person that makes $100,000 and they got $50,000 in legitimate business expenses, that means they got $50,000 that passes through to the person. Well, the problem is this. 10% is $5,000. 15% is $7,500. Then the person got to pay 10% on the 50. So that's $5,000. So now this person got a $12,500 tax bill that they got to pay. Now they got penalty and interest. So now, once they add penalty and interest, this is around 16 racks. Can I say that?
You sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, who wants to have a $16,000 tax bill? Because now a person can rebut me and say, well, Brian, we can make estimated payments. And if I make estimated payments throughout the year, I won't have this bill. Well, that's a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got to identify yourself as a self-employed person. Try buying a house and getting credit as a self-employed person. See how that works.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
Now, to the contrary to this example, I can take a situation, and I'm going to use the same math. Thank you, Niles. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it, man. I practice for this.
Thank you. If I put you in a C corp, and I'm going to throw this in here.
Did you say a C corp?
A C corp.
I'm sorry, for those of us that don't know what that is, can you let us know? Because I don't know.
All corporations, by definition of fact, start off as a C corp.
Okay.
You have to elect to be an S corp. An S corp is a pass-through entity like an LLC. So in my 27 years, I might have done 1 or 2 C corps my whole life.
Mm.
So I abstain from pass-through entities. And let me give this as validation. Ford. It's not called Chrysler anymore. What's it called? Stellantis. What's it called?
Stellantis.
Stellantis. Whatever it is. General Motors. Telsa. I don't care what corporation you pick. None of them are LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to think and recognize.
So when you get to a certain point is when you're supposed to change to a corporation?
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
And why? And you about to explain that now.
So I never want to be an LLC?
Never. Well, I'm not going to say never. We'll get to the one instance of why in just a second. Let me provide this example first. All right. So we got the same set of facts. $100,000. $50,000 in legitimate expenses. $50,000 left over. Well, what I would have you do is put yourself on payroll. You put yourself on payroll for $50,000. Now that $50,000 becomes a deduction to the corporation. The corporation now has zero income. Any percent times 0 is going to equal 0.
Perfect.
Now the individual has a legitimate W-2 for $50,000. They have a legitimate pay stub. The days of the fake pay stubs are over.
Great.
I mean, I actually know a cat that went to jail for making a fake pay stub.
Okay, so like the company is making $0.
Company's making 0. But now you can control it. If you want your company to make some money, you can make this 30 and bring 30 here.
Okay.
And make 20 be here because you want to develop credit in your company.
Right. So that was my point.
So you got autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an LLC, you don't have autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key distinction. You can control it.
Right.
When it's a LLC, it's a default mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And you can never lie about how much you make.
Right.
You might can, for lack, can I say bullshit?
Cook the books.
You can cook. you can cook the books about what the expenses are, but you can never lie about what you make. That's tax evasion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can. I can always go into it. That's good for now. Thank you, Niles.
So, where did this? I'm sorry. I know I practiced for that. Where did this LLC
Concept come from?
Yeah, man, because it seems to be the main thing, at least with us. Or
Everybody's trying to do like open up a LLC, like I said.
How did that happen?
So the LLC came into existence in 1986 under the Reagan era. So that right there should be your red flag. Okay, so there was no LLC prior.
So it was just what, sole proprietor partnership, and then
there was no partnership taxation. That's what occurred.
Okay.
So under the Reagan era, there was no existence of partnership taxation. There was only corp, S corp, and sole proprietor. There was no partnership taxation. So there was a hole in the system. And under the Reagan era is when they decided to close that hole. So when they closed that hole, they created the LLC. Now they made the LLC become a hybrid, which means it has something under code Treasury Regs 301.7701. So for all you guys out there who want to do your research, Treasury Reg 301.7701. Mm-hmm. It's called check the box regulations. The LLC became a hybrid where it was allowed to be a sole proprietor as a C Corp. As a Schedule C on a personal tax return. It was allowed to be a 1065 partnership return. And it was also allowed to check the box and become treated like a corporation for federal tax purposes.
Okay.
So the first dynamic you got to get is, Niles, to your question. There's a federal aspect of an entity and a state aspect of an entity.
Okay.
And those are two different aspects.
Very.
Right?
Very.
So the federal aspect is taxation only. State law changes different aspects. So like, for instance, if you are a landlord and you're an LLC and you want to kick a tenant out, that tenant has to go hire an attorney.
Really?
Yeah. That tenant can't represent themselves. They have to have an attorney.
Okay.
Typically, the court will provide one, but because one is a corporate entity for state law and one is an individual, that's a disparity. And the court does not allow for disparity. So now that person who's being kicked out, they're given an attorney. Here's another example. People that have LLCs can't collect unemployment.
Can't.
They made an exception under this COVID scenario that came about.
Okay.
Under this COVID thing, they made an exception. But let's take that and put it to the side. If you're an LLC and you run dry on work, you can't draw unemployment.
Because you're not separated.
You're not separated. If I make you a C Corp and I let you pay yourself, you could say, Clay could go out of here tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm tight. I need 6 months off. I'm gonna close the shop for 6 months. Or I'm gonna lay myself off because I'm slow. He could go draw unemployment and let y'all keep working. And it would be 100% legal. You could do that as a corp. You cannot do that. If he was an LLC, he couldn't do that.
What if I have an LLC, but I also work nights somewhere else, and they go down and they're offering unemployment? Can I collect it from them, or I just don't get it? Period.
You don't get nothing.
Straight up.
You ass out. Can I say that?
You can. Now, with the development of these LLCs, S Corps, C Corps, now it's this penalty that you can be paying like $500 per day.
Or you're moving into the BOI.
And you can go to jail?
Yeah, you're moving.
Explain what that's all about.
Okay, so we're switching gears. We're moving into something called the Corporate Transparency Act. The Corporate Transparency Act was passed in 2021. In 2021, what's so ironic about the act is it was passed right when they gave out all the free money.
Okay.
That should make a person's brain go off.
Yeah.
Okay. So you pass this act, Corporate Transparency Act, under a regulation called FinCEN. Okay. FinCEN is federal enforcement.
That's a word.
Federal enforcement agency, federal criminal enforcement agency. Forgive me. It's called FinCEN. So they came out with this exactly right after, because we got to think, COVID came out in 20.
Right.
They gave all the bread away related to 20 and 21, but you came out with an organization in 21 to go chase this money. So now they created this entity called FinCEN and created a registration process called BOI, Beneficial Ownership Interest. You must file this report. You must provide your ID, and if you do not, to your point, it has a $500 a day penalty up to 10 grand.
A day?
A day, up to 10 grand, plus a 2-year jail tail.
Plus, or once it gets to the end of this 10 grand.
Plus a 2-year jail tail.
So they came up with this because they were evidently trying to stop some people from committing some type of fraud or whatever. What?
Well, that's the story, right?
It had to be, right? So
Well, I have it.
why would they put this strong penalty on the people?
I think it's multifaceted. You know, I don't want to get too deep into the scope of the dialogue here, but what I will say is, in my humble opinion,
yeah,
is that I think they're doing a reconciliation.
Oh, so
And they're doing a reconciliation before they roll out Fed Now.
and the Fed now is they're gonna get rid of the dollar.
They're going to get rid of money. They're going to get rid of the cash money.
When you
And
think
opposed to what?
digital
now.
currency,
Just all digital currency?
all digital currency.
Well, let's even break digital currency down. Right now, your debit card is digital currency.
Right.
Cash App and
Cash
Zelle and all that other stuff like that.
The money in a computer does not equal any money printed. So you got to stop and pause and wrap your brain around that. The money in the computers does not equal printed money. So therefore, money is already digital. They're just going to take it to another level. Go in your pocket right now and pull out a $20 bill.
I'm just saying the
I bet you your debit card got the money.
yeah, that's what yeah.
But so you're already digital.
But what they try to tell us is that money is just money. But what I'm hearing is that is not.
Well, they told us, slavery was legal for 400 years, right?
They said that.
They told us segregation was legal for 50, 60 years, right?
Right.
And we went for it, right?
Right.
They give you a different name every 10 years. First you was a Negro, then you was an African American. Now you're black, so they keep giving you these names, but you still don't know who you are, and we believe that, right? So without me getting too deep.
So Brian, in this compliance, what do you have to do for this BOI? Boy.
You got to call me.
Okay.
You got to call B.
Got to call B.
Gotta
Call my
B.
boy.
First, call my boy for the boy.
Call my boy. What you got to do is you got to adhere to the BOI filing requirements.
And those requirements are?
Well, again, I'm going to say you got to call me. I'm like,
without getting into
I don't want to give everybody the answer.
Just flirt on the surface a little bit. Just flirt.
What I will say is this: it's information you have to provide, and you also got to provide your ID.
Okay, that's okay.
That's the kicker. That you actually got to submit your picture ID to these folks.
And it's just one time?
No, it's every year.
Every year. Okay.
Until this thing gets overturned. I'm hoping. I'm supposing that someone's going to fight this, but it's not going to be me. But someone, I think, hopefully will fight it, or they're going to crush it so you can't fight it. Because to me, it's completely unconstitutional. Because first of all, you're submitting the same information you already used to create the entity. Second of all, it can't be a crime because no one's harmed. So technically, by the way our Constitution works and the way our statutes work, someone has to have harm for there to be a crime. And for you not filing a report does not constitute a crime.
Right.
You don't even catch a 2-year jail sentence for not filing a tax return.
Mm-hmm.
How did you catch a 2-year jail sentence for not filing a BOI a report? It's not even a return of any kind. It's a report. So we have to stop, pause, and start thinking about the information that these people are giving us for us to obey, right? So now, is it a law? So there's a difference between something being legal and something being lawful. Okay? So now this is a legal issue. The question is it lawful? And a lot of people don't dig into that thought. And my job is to keep my people legal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want to have a lawful debate, make sure you got a pocket. If you got that pocket, we can go lawful. But
Gotcha.
but that's a different.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole different conversation. But as far as being legal, that's what they're banking on, that people just obey and be legal. It's almost like the seatbelt, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can run around here and drive a motorcycle with no motorcycle helmet, which you can't hurt nothing but yourself if you don't have one on.
Right.
But I'm going to pull you over for not having on a seatbelt. So now, is a seatbelt lawful? No, it's legal.
I got a ticket for a seatbelt the other day.
And that was 100% unlawful. So how is it you can drive a
You didn't tell me
motorcycle?
about that one.
Another one.
You can drive a motorcycle with no helmet, but you can't drive a car with no seatbelt.
Are you kidding me? I never even thought of it that way.
Well, I'm glad that helped you, my brother. So there's a big distinction between being lawful and legal. And we as a people, we have to start waking up to these nuances of the fallacies, and that's why I call the LLC lying, lynch, and conspiracy. Because they're lying to us, and they're lynching you because they're making you hang yourself from an economic tax perspective. And it's a damn conspiracy because everybody's falling for it.
Mm.
So that's why I use that 3 letters for my acronym. Lying, lynch, and conspiracy.
So not only are you a tax preparer, but you also help people in planning, right? I can come to you and get some financial planning. Am I correct?
I'm not a financial planner by definition.
Okay.
Okay. Can I help you with a financial plan? Yes.
Mm.
But financial planning is not my expertise.
Okay.
My expertise is fighting and being an adversary to the taxation system.
I just had a question because it's something I wanted to know. In small business, one of our main things that we get in trouble with is cash flow. And other than like stacking some cash because we know we got to save for a rainy day,
Right.
what are some other tips that you can help people out with small businesses for sustaining their business throughout the year?
Understand the game you're playing.
Okay, elaborate.
You're playing a game with a group of folks that have already created the rules.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest, in my opinion, it's just my humble opinion, one of the biggest mistakes I think our people make is we fail to understand the rules of the game. We think the game is stupid. We think these people are slow. People always use words like, the system's broken. The system ain't broken. The system's doing exactly what it's designed to do. Keep its foot on your neck. That's what it's designed to do. So
Why?
Why?
Yeah, well, I want to know, like,
See, now
like
you-
why?
now you- yeah, we about to go deep now. Like,
No, that's what I was going to ask you. Why would it do that? It's
Why
supposed
they-
to be for the
yeah,
people.
so why do they want to keep you
well, see now.
with their foot on your neck?
And I do understand it always feels like it's against the people, but they tell us.
It's against us. So let's be very clear here. Okay, so let's go back to what I said earlier. First, they called you black, what is not a nationality. Then they called you Negro, what is not a nationality. Then they called you African American, which is 2 different continents, which can't be a nationality. Then they called you black, which also is not a nationality. So to your point in your question, they keep changing your name and your identity every 10 years, every decade, and don't none of us ask who we really are. None of us know we're really Moors, that we are the original people of this land. So I'm not trying to get too deep into that, but I'm going to dabble on it since you brought it up.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that they keep changing your identity when you say why, that's why. They don't want you to know your real heritage. Because once you know your real heritage, you're going to find out the first peace treaty of this land we call United States was 1787. Guess who that peace treaty was with? Morocco. How do you have a peace treaty with Morocco?
Interesting.
We don't even think about that. So, first of all, we were told we were colonized by the English, but you also had French, hence Detroit,
True.
Fort Detroit, hence Louisiana, the Creole people. So you were never put together of how the English, the Portuguese, and the French, when did they all come together? That's been left out of your history. You ain't never been told about that. You just been told about this American Revolution of these white folks fighting England about some taxation with no representation. So if you want to get deep, ask yourself a real serious question and Google this.
Podcast number 2. I'm going to invite you back. And we're going to go deep off into that. Let's get back into the tax thing.
He got me asking who I am.
Because I really got some more.
Who I am.
I really got
Who
some
are you,
more,
my brother?
some more questions to ask you, but I'm like, oh, it's gonna get off into we're gonna be talking. So this podcast.
I'm just trying to answer his
but
question.
will you come back? Because I do want to ask you some other questions.
I just want to answer his question.
No, I appreciate it.
Now, I got another question about. Can you talk about depreciation and how that works with equipment, and also like a building? If I was to purchase a building, like how would that building be depreciated?
Okay.
And how?
Depreciation is a manipulation mechanism.
Oh,
Every single question.
So let's get the board out.
Board time.
board
All right,
time.
board time. All right. So there's depreciation that is defined. And please forgive me, people, because I'm writing this way. And in the tax code, it's called makers and it's called acres. So the tax code gives a specific concept related to depreciation.
Okay.
Now, for business purposes, you can use in-house, for lack of a better word, or lack of better 2 words, in-house depreciation method. Okay, so you could use something called straight line. You could use something called double declining. So what this means is you can use depreciation to make a P&L look bigger, but for taxes, you can use depreciation to make a P&L look smaller.
Depending on which way you want it.
Depending on which way you want to go. So for instance, let's take Trump, for example. That's good. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
So let's take Trump, for example. Everybody was making all this hoopla. And I'm no Trump fan, so let's get that out before I make this comment. Because I don't want nobody thinking that, like, his ass had on a suit. He must like Trump. No. So people talk about Trump, and the news media kept saying, Trump don't pay no taxes. Well, first of all, that's, can I say bullshit or bullcrap?
No, not at all.
It's too late now.
It's too late.
We
Okay.
already.
All right. That's bullshit.
Winning now.
First of all, an individual, it's impossible for an individual not to pay taxes. All right?
Of course.
What they were discussing was his corporations not paying taxes. But in the news media, they did not present it in that context. They presented it in an individual context to send out misinformation to the people. But inside the scope of a business, I can use makers or acres or double declining or straight line, I can use straight line, which is the most advantageous to make my company look paid. So now I can go get these loans, right? I can make my company look like he got a lot of bread. But when I do my tax return, I can use makers because my tax return defines makers, which means, like for instance, a building has to be depreciated over 39.5 years.
Okay.
Residential property has to be depreciated over 27.5 years.
From the time a person
time of
purchases.
purchase,
Okay.
General equipment is 7 years. Computer equipment is 3 years. Hell, even shrubbery and trees are in the tax code. Even horses. Horses are in the tax code. Horses. Of how long you have to depreciate a horse. So, to your question, depreciation is used, in my opinion, as a way to diversify or manipulate economic presentation of data. And for those who are in the know, they know how to manipulate the economic presentation so that the banks like it.
And that's when we got to call you.
Call B.
Call B.
Call B.
Call B.
You know, years ago, maybe a few years back, we had accountants. Everybody was doing taxes. You had tax this on this corner, on that corner. They were making money, big money. I want to know what happened to all those tax preparers.
I think the IRS shut them down.
Why?
The IRS in probably
Did a
around,
law change or something
no,
like that?
the law didn't change. Well, they passed a law around 90, maybe around 99 to 2005, somewhere in there. There was a scope of time where they were attacking tax preparers for illegitimacy.
Okay.
Remember the Mo Money guys?
Yeah.
Oh, them boys was getting money. They had places in Atlanta. And guess what happened to them? They all went to prison. All of them went to prison. All of them went to prison.
And I want to know, like, what kind of scheme were they doing? Like, how are they getting in and taking these people money?
But they were ripping people off.
And how? How do they do that?
Well, I had a young lady today, and this is an actual story today
Okay.
that occurred today. And this was a client who had left me for 2 years and got a text blast because my wife started doing text blasts, which I'd never used to do. And apparently she was still in my phone, and she came back today. And when she came back today, she told me how she didn't get her refund in 2022. And I said, well, you don't just not get your money. Something happened. So we got on the practitioner line, which is a line only certain people can call. Everybody can't call the practitioner line, right? I don't have to wait for 2 hours or an hour. I call, I get somebody in 2-3 minutes, right? So we call, and what had happened is whoever did her taxes at a lower number, but then filed it at a higher number. So they charged her $600, but they really charged her $1,600 because they kept another $1,000. So they gave her a tax return that showed $1,000 less than what she actually was entitled to receive.
Whoa.
So, and then when I looked at her invoice, I'm like, damn, they charged you $600? I'm like, shit. Can I say that? I'm like,
it's too late.
We here now.
We here now.
I'm like, shit, I got a master's and I don't charge that. You know, so they charged her not only the $1,000, but another $600. So once we got off the phone with the IRS, they had flagged her account for fraud. And luckily they did because they didn't pay it. She still got pinched because the state don't flag the way the Fed does.
Okay.
So the people who did her returns still got paid at least $1,000 because she had like $1,000. So to your point, is the federal system started catching on to people manipulating those who are not in the know, those who are not educated academically about their taxes, and those who are just happy to get a check. And those are the people who get manipulated. You know, and that brings me to my point is, well, my final point, I guess, is, you know, be in charge of your personal information.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute.
All right. So we'll talk about that. Be informed, and be information. Don't just march to the beat of the information. Like, so when you look at the word information, it's like the military, your information, right? You're just marching to the beat of a drum, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the beat of the cadence, right?
Right.
Be in control of your information. Don't just march.
Just don't be willy-nilly and giving everybody your social security number, your address, and all this stuff.
Exactly. Make sure you got somebody credible. Make sure you got somebody whose door you can go knock on. Make sure you know at least 2 people who know that
them.
person.
Right.
And even if you get somebody from a referral, make sure it's somebody you trust.
Do you give like money for referrals?
No.
No?
No, what I have done this year, my wife convinced me of this. I am doing this year.
I got like 2 people. I was about to trap you up. Let me get that. Let me get that.
I don't give money, but if you do 6 referrals, you will get a dinner for 2 for Joe Muir's for $300. If you do 9 referrals, you will get a night at MGM plus a dinner. If you do 3 referrals, you will get a free tax return.
Okay.
So I don't do money.
All right.
But I do
What if you
an
got 2?
incentive.
What if you got 2?
Then you need to find one more. Or,
I guess
or you
I
need
gotta
to find 4 more.
I gotta find one more. I got somebody. I got a couple people for you.
Or 4 more. So you can get some
I've been
dinner.
out here. I've been out here on your team. You know.
Yeah, you've been on my team a long time.
I'm trying to get a couple dollars.
Yeah, you're still on my team. I ain't got no dollars, but I'll feed you.
All right, I'll take that. You'll feed me for free though.
Yeah, I will. I'll feed you.
I keep hearing you say tax return and tax refund. Is it the same thing? And why is it called a tax refund? If I'm paying my taxes, where's this refund coming from?
You know what? That's let me give you some on that. That's a great question. Thank you. First concept. A tax refund is your own money.
That's why
it's called a refund. Mm-hmm. The only time it's not your own money is if there's children involved, and then it's a social welfare program. Okay. So now we're gonna get deep again. I got enough time to get a little deep.
Yeah, let me get in my chair. All
right. Okay. So now we're gonna look at how this system rewards women to be abstinent from their men in the household.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we about to break it down.
So if a woman has a baby and she is not with her husband or not with her man, she will get earned income credit and get a banging ass refund. If she's married and with her husband, she don't get jack. So now you got to see that there's an intentional design built into the system to not be with your mate.
So they just changed it up a little bit, like how it used to be, where the man couldn't be in the house, then the woman couldn't get federal assistance. So it's basically the same thing.
Same thing. And this is designed into the tax code. There's even a tax code section where if I have a situation with a married couple, I'll tell them, I'll say, look, if you tell me that you did not live together for 6 months a year and you use 2 separate addresses, I can actually get you more money. I don't purport it because I see the design of the system, but at the same token, sometimes our people just need that money and they need to understand what the law says. Mm-hmm. I didn't write the law. I didn't make it. Congress did it.
Right.
But you see how Congress did it intentionally to reward the woman if the male is not in the household. So to your question, a refund is A, either your own money being refunded to you with no interest. So they took your money throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And then give you your shit back at the end of the year with no interest. Or either B, they're giving you back a federal program of welfare. Jeez. That's what creates the refund. It's one of the two. You know, I'll have a cat that's single that'll do $125,000, pay $25,000, and still end up owing $500-$600.
Is there any time where a business can get back like money?
If it pays estimated taxes throughout the year, yes. If it doesn't pay, again, back to Niall's question, your refund is your own money. So for the really astute tax person, you don't want a refund. You always want to break even. Because if you get a refund, you're just getting your own bread back with no interest.
And that would be like how again would a person get a refund?
So
if they
let's
had a
say
business?
you got a business and you make $25,000 in profit.
Okay.
But in the prior year you made $40,000 in profit.
Okay.
So in the subsequent year you're supposed to pay based on the prior year. So you got to make estimated payments every 3 months based on the 40 grand.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's time to do your taxes, you actually made 25.
Okay.
So because you made estimated payments on 40, you only really needed to pay tax on 25.
Oh.
So
you're really not getting no refund. You're just getting
your own money
your
back.
own. Okay. Because he was telling me, Lance was telling me about one of his friends talking about he getting a refund, and I'm like, how?
Lance, you better give your friend my number and tell his ass to call me. Make sure he don't get his ass in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Watch this podcast.
You should straighten up some stuff and clear it up a lot of stuff.
Just bleep out all my words
for the day. We rolling the cussing accountant. It's gonna be the title.
the ghetto accountant.
Can you tell me more about that? What you mean? Clay has also said it to me. Sometimes you don't want to return. You want to
break even.
Can you unpack that a little more for me? Why do I?
Well, because, think about it logically, right? Let's just say for the sake of arguments, a person gets a $1,000 refund every year for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Would that person have been more astute to put that $1,000 on, let's say, Amazon every year and break even? And over a 20-year window, they got $20,000 worth of Amazon stock, and now it's worth $100,000. Vice getting that $1,000 every year, and this year I buy a TV. This year I go to dinner and buy some gym shoes. This year I went and bought me some new Trump sneakers.
I just bought some gym shoes. Clay told me not to.
Is he fucking with me, Clay?
No. I just did that.
He come run over there with the phone.
Happened to me.
Look at these shoes, bro. And I give him that look.
Just happened to me.
Yeah. So
don't do it. You wouldn't bought the shoes anyway, huh?
Look, man. I didn't know I could have put it on Amazon and got the money.
We're at a point, fellas, where if you choose to be ignorant in today's time and age, that's your choice. There's too much information out here now to be ignorant.
Well, you said you had education. Mm-hmm. So, and I want to know if this kind of falls under the same thing. Me and Clay go back and forth about at least my education in graphic design, because I may not have needed it. It may have been something like a trade I could have taught myself, Mm-hmm. Clay said when he got Photoshop, he just pressed every button on the keyboard to see what it'll do. Mm-hmm. A lot of this information isn't privy to us, Is there somewhere I can go to get the information broken down the way you understand it, or is it something I do absolutely need education for, and I have to go that route?
I'm going to digress.
Okay.
You both know, then people out there may not know, me and my wife moved off grid. I built a house in the middle of nowhere. I have a house. I drill my own water well. I have my own solar. I pay $73 a year for property taxes. And I have no bills.
And you ain't know how to do none of that stuff.
And Clay will tell you, I didn't own an iron in my house. I didn't believe in ironing my clothes. I didn't clean my house. I had a maid.
To be fair, we don't iron clothes anymore. You were ahead of your time.
Yeah, I had a maid. I didn't do none of that.
You had
I had a maid.
Oh.
Yeah. So I didn't even wash my clothes. So I go out to the middle of nowhere and I build a crib.
Gave up all the yachts, the party.
The yachts?
Oh, I had a 40-foot.
No, I'm sorry. I'm pretending to be surprised. No, I heard.
Yeah, I had a 40-foot Sea-Ray. I took Clay out, put him on the jet skis, let him go out there act a fool. Him and his wife almost drowned himself. I had to jump in and save him. No, I'm just kidding. He was very modest. No, but my point is this: I didn't know how to build a house. Even my wife, she did the welding because I didn't know how to weld. I couldn't weld. My brain couldn't slow down enough to do it. So my point to you, Niles, is that you can learn whatever you want to learn. This system is not the basis of your knowledge concept. You are the basis of your knowledge concept. Whether or not you go to a formal academic functionality to be taught the information, or whether you choose to take it upon yourself to have knowing of the information, that's your path.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your point, yes, you can find this stuff out. You might have to sit your ass still and read. Yeah. I had to be still and do a lot of reading, me and my wife.
In this day and age where you say like the information is out there, it's available, do you think it's going to stop where it's not going to be available as it is now? Mm. Like right now, I see we're just inundated with a bunch of information. Like we don't know like what's going on. We get this information here, and it's just like, oh, what do I do? What's right? What's wrong? Who's right? Who's wrong? And do you think that's by plan? It's
by design.
Yeah.
I mean, the scriptures tell you have to read things with discernment.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be discerning, and you were made as an independent thinking entity.
Correct.
The problem is, to answer your question, is a lot of us have decided to stop thinking. You know, I think, therefore I am. So if you're not thinking, you're just existing. You're not living. So to your question, you have to think. You have to actually analyze. You have to actually, question. You have to actually throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. And then go from there. You have to take difference of opinions like we're doing tonight. I applaud you guys. You guys are doing a justice to your people. And I applaud you.
Well, thank you for that.
I applaud
and you the same.
You
always definitely.
I applaud you for
helping
that.
the people out. You always have. And anybody need some good accounting, tell them how they can reach you.
You can reach me at Complete Tax Service Solutions website, www.completetaxes, SS, no E. Or you could just simply call me.
One more question. It just came to me. Accountant and a bookkeeper.
A major difference.
What's the difference?
All right.
It just popped in my head. Like, what's the difference?
All right.
Do I need an accountant?
Accountants.
Do the people need an accountant?
Accountants do bookkeeping, but that's not what we do.
Eric Jock can squeeze blood out of a rock.
My job is to criticize you.
Whoa.
My job is to poke a hole in your most grandiose idea and tell you how jacked up it is. My job is to tell you why your idea is flawed. That's my job. That's what you're paying me $175 an hour to tell you how wrong you are.
Is that why I used to go home so dejected?
He killed all your dreams.
Killed all my dreams. I thought I had this grandiose plan, and you just
pop. But let me qualify why. Because when you are prepared for the worst case scenario, you are truthfully prepared. When you have somebody that just tells you yes to everything, you ain't prepared for a damn thing. My job is to tell you everything that can go wrong.
Shouldn't you ever go out on faith?
You should. When I moved my ass to the middle of the desert and started my off-grid, I went out on... You thought I was crazy when I went and did it, right? You did. And now you look now and you like, damn, okay, he really did it.
You really did your thing.
Yeah.
You got a pool now?
He's
I'll have
digging
a
the
pool
hole
this year.
He's digging the hole now.
Yeah, I have the pool this year. The pool and the basketball court this year.
The pool and the basketball court.
And the tennis court this year.
And it's at $75 a year?
$75.
Yeah. A year?
$73 a year.
All right.
$73.
$73.
$73.
So it's actually he like a billionaire now.
So to your point, yes, you should be on faith, but you also need that guy to tell you what's jacked up about your perception. That don't mean I gotta be right. It just means I tell you what's flawed so that you can figure out, okay, since B said this is wrong, this is my solution. Now, if I end up being right and that event becomes reality, you're prepared. But if I didn't tell you and you're not prepared, you're going to sink. So an accountant, a CPA, is someone you're paying to tell you how flawed your thinking is. A bookkeeper is someone you're paying just to enter data.
Gotcha.
That's the distinction.
What were or what are your thoughts on the PPP loan?
Nah, that was an underplay for overplay.
I was underplay for overplay. I really wanted to ask
That's
you.
why you got that fence in now.
Once
why
you
you
brought
got
it
that
up, that's what
BOI
made
now,
me.
yeah.
That's what.
That was an underplay for overplay.
Because once they threw that out there,
So let me break it.
Wait a minute. Now,
Do I got time for that?
I was gonna ask the
Do
wheel
I
time
got
from the
time?
joint.
Do
I
I got time? Okay, here.
Pull it
Board,
out.
one more time.
More time.
More time.
One more
Give me
time.
more time. Yeah.
Last one, and we're gonna wrap it up with this. So I'm gonna give you a quick example of the PPP and how it was supposed to work and why they got the fence in now.
All right.
All right. So can you see, Niles?
I'm gonna watch this. I have to. Please believe
All right.
it.
So I give you $100,000 PPP.
What did PPP stand for?
Payment Protection Program.
Okay.
Right? So you were supposed to take this money and pay people, right? So you were supposed to take this $100,000 and divide it and pay people while they were off. Well, what's the first thing you got to pay when you pay these people? 15 cents on the dollar. Social Security and Medicare taxes. So now out of that 100,000, 15 grand goes back to the IRS. Then what else happens?
Before we even start.
You're supposed to pay people. Now they got their withholding. So let's just presume for the sake of this scenario, everybody's at a 10% tax bracket. All right? So 10% of whatever they earn, let's say everybody earns $30,000. Okay? 30 times 4. So that's 12 grand. 10%, 12 grand. So now that's 27 grand that should have went back to the IRS. So now each one of these people got to do their own taxes on the 30 grand. So now their tax, if they're at 10%, that's $3,000 apiece. That $3,000 is supposed to go back to the IRS. So now you're at 30 grand out of the 100 that shoulda went back to the IRS.
Losing money fast.
So now you got 70 grand divided by them. So now out of 30, each one of them kept 20,000. So the whole purpose of the PPP was to keep the choo-choo train moving. It wasn't for some cat to take 100 racks and go buy him a new Benz.
Like a lot of them do.
That cat going to jail.
And they still looking for him.
And they gonna find him.
Yeah.
They're going to.
It's gonna take a minute, but they gonna find his ass.
Yeah.
So that's how the PPP was supposed to work. But our people who saw it as a loophole and think that this system is stupid. See, that's our biggest flaw. We keep thinking that these cats is stupid.
Told you.
Here we go again.
These
They ain't stupid.
They ain't stupid. This system ain't broken. This system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Keep its foot on your neck. And they throw you a nugget just for you to hang yourself. Hence, lying, lynching, and conspiracy.
The LLC.
There you have it. Lying,
we go.
lynching, and conspiracy.
Brian, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for coming, man.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. Peace, love, truth, peace, justice, and freedom to all of you. I love you both. And I love everybody out there. Thank you.
Good night.
Boogie.
You have just listened to the Can You Picture This podcast? The podcast for the strongest, fastest, most powerful t-shirt/print shop on this side of the Eastern Seaboard. You can catch us in the heart of Detroit, Greenfield, and Grand River, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our address is 14223 Greenfield Road, Detroit, Michigan 48227. Our phone number is 313-273-5000.